Okay, so we're going to look at our second quotient property of logarithms. Or it's not the second quotient, but it's the second property. For all positive numbers a, b, and x, where x cannot equal 1, because we would be raising 1 to some power if we were to translate that to exponential notation. So x can't equal 1, but we have a, b, and x. So we know that the product property here, we had log base a of ab, or log base x of ab equals log base x of a plus log base x of b. If you think about in exponents, if we had x squared times x cubed, what would we do with the exponents? We would add them. Same sort of thing here with logarithms, because those two things work hand in hand. So if we had log base x of, or let's say we had exponential, say we had x to the 10th divided by x to the 7th, what would we do with those exponents? Well, we would subtract them. The same thing goes with logs. We have log base x of a divided by b. It's equal to log base x of a. Notice the a is in the numerator. A is the first part. It's the positive part. Divided by log base x of b, which so we would subtract it. Now, we're going to look at this guy here. If we evaluate this as it is using a calculator, we have 0.207518 and so on. So I'm going to round it to 0.20752. It was a 1/8. And sometimes you may be given a table or maybe some values, and you're not allowed to use your calculator. Maybe it's pre-cal, maybe it's calculus, or you're back from the olden days when we had a horse and carriage and all we had were log tables. There were no calculators. We had cars, but we still didn't have calculators that we used on a daily basis when I was in high school. So we used a table. So it would be something like this, where you'd have a couple values and you had to show that what you had to evaluate this without a calculator. So if we have log base 4, so log base 4 of 4, that's the numerator, so it's going to come first. Just like over here, we'd have 10 minus 7. So we'd have minus log base 4 of 3. Now, log base 4 of 4, that is equal to 1, because 4 to the first power is equal to 4. So we have 1 minus, now log base 4 of 3, they told us was approximately 0.7925. So if we type that in, or we subtract that by hand, I know I said we weren't using a calculator, but if we were to subtract that, we would get 0.2075, which is the same thing as there. Now let's look at this example. It's a little bit more involved. We do have a product and we have some division. Well, this product is being divided by this, so we can separate that. We can expand it. So we'd have log base 3 of xy minus log base 3 of z. Now we know that this guy right here is equal to what? Well, that's equal to log base 3 of x plus log base 3 of y, and then we have our minus log base 3 of z. Now the question is do we need parentheses or do we not need parentheses? Well, if I told you x times y divided by z, or a little dot line dot, well, if I have x over 1 times y over 1 times 1 over z, well, when we deal with fractions, we just multiply straight across. We have xy over z. So parentheses aren't necessarily necessary when we're dealing with the quotient property here. You could stick them in if you want to, if that makes you feel better. You could throw those in if you want. Now let's look at solving an equation using expanding and condensing. We actually are going to condense this. Now we're missing a base. So remember, when we're missing a base, it's really log base 10. It's called the common log. So when we're going to smush those back together, we're going to condense them down. So, and we have all the same bases. So we'd have log base 10 of Well, now we have 18 divided by 3x equals log base 10 of 2. Well, yesterday we learned that if you have log base of the same, then you know these two pieces have to be equal. So we'd have 18 divided by 3x has to equal 2, or 2 over 1. And so then we could cross multiply, and we get 6x equals 18, or x equals 3. And so that would be what we get. And that would be the quotient property. You'll want to watch the third video. The third video is the power property.